are fired away with words, or so you have heard from your friends. Both pretending to be literature lovers instead.
Hello, my name is Dr. Felicia Stinson, and if that silly little intro wasn't enough, first I'm going to start off telling you a little bit more about me. So, I have a PhD in creative writing, which is one of the reasons I love literature so much, is because I'm writing it myself. I've been a teacher and faculty at Western for going on 6 years now, teaching all the gen ed Englishes, including your English and 200 Intro to Literature. I'm a Park City native, but I'm also a Western Kentucky alum. I've got my undergrad in journalism and creative writing there. And then since then, I read, I write, I travel, and I teach. And this is actually not my first time doing hybrid classes. I did them when I was an instructor over at the community college. So I want you to know that I come at this with a little bit of experience, and I know you don't, because that is one of the things I notice most about your surveys. And thank you so much for responding to those. I got so many responses just within the first couple of days, and it was really helpful in helping me set the tone for some of the things that I was writing out as I changed the syllabus and the structure of Blackboard. One of the things I really noted in your survey responses is that you aren't really sure what a hybrid class is, and that online formats often create a lot of independence that doesn't always work for students. And so there's a little uncertainty about what communication is going to be like, how often you're going to see me, what sort of access you have to me, and peer learning, which is both very important. So let me outline first off what a hybrid course is. The expectation is that I'm going to see you at least once a week face-to-face. In order to do that, half the class will attend on Tuesday, half the class will attend on Thursday. Enrollment in English 200 is around 27, unless we have any drops this semester. And so that's going to be 14 one day and 12 and 13 on Thursday. Most of you have indicated some preference. Unfortunately, a majority want to come on Tuesday, and that's just not physically going to be possible. So what I'm looking at is preferences and then randomizing names the rest, because I know a lot of you are probably just getting it done alphabetically, and as someone with an S last name, that was always really frustrating to me, to everything being done last. So I think randomizing it will be the most fair way, and that list will be available on Blackboard. In fact, I'm going to go over where to access and find materials on Blackboard in this video, since that's going to be our main function in the hybrid. So aside from seeing you once a week, if you come on Tuesday, my expectation is you'll still have access to the Thursday class through Zoom. I plan on streaming all of our class meetings as they're happening. So that time you're allotted for our class, you'll still be taking advantage of both on Tuesday and Thursday. But because our interaction is limited, I'm creating more online assignments, in that what we're gonna try to do is focus our in-person time to discussion, getting that sense of interaction, seeing what other people think about the text, and then you getting a little time in class every day to work on your writing exercises, but ultimately turning them in at your leisure that week of class online. On average, you're probably going to have 1 to 2 online assignments. They'll vary in length. You'll be having things like journals for our readings, which essentially will pose a question that maybe we didn't get to in class, or an opportunity to expand on one we did, in about 150 to 200 words. You'll also have things due periodically for your papers. I expect you to submit your thesis statements in advance. We'll have workshops for your drafts. Those are going to create some adjustments since we can't do small groups gathered together. but I am still hoping to give feedback and get peer review for some of those, and we may do a mix of in-person and online peer review for your workshops. One thing that I think will be really helpful for hybrid, and this is also something because all of your texts are on Blackboard, I don't have a textbook that is required, is having regular access to the internet in class. So if you prefer to do that on phone, tablets, laptops, bringing those to class so you have access to your texts. And also if you want to submit early or go ahead and work in Blackboard when I do give you time to work in class, that's fine. So that's really going to be the main structure, is most of our class day will be discussion. And then I'm generally going to give you some time every day. Either that's when we'll do a little workshop review, or I'll go ahead and prompt you with the question that we'll work on for your journal, and maybe give you a little time to work on that. That way you can ask me questions, get some advice, and continually improve your writing skills when it comes to literature analysis. So that's the hybrid situation, is in-class discussion. Only once a week will you come face-to-face, but you can open Zoom and view the other day's session, and then you'll just submit materials online instead of handing them to me in person. That's the hybrid situation. So with that, because we're going to be relying on online a little bit more, one of the things I want to go over as we also talk about the syllabus is going to be the components we're using, the platforms available, and I've outlined them all in the syllabus. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through the syllabus and go to my browser and look at some of these, how the navigation for Blackboard and such is set up. So give me just a second here. All right, here we go. So enter to literature. Your information on how to contact me, I have a separate video on how to book office hour meetings, and when those are available, I'm using Zoom. I'm teaching 3 sections of this course this semester, and our course is Modern Myths, is a theme that we have, and so all the things we'll be looking at this semester are retellings or adaptations or allusions to other stories or myths, and we'll be dividing that into 3 sections: Judeo-Christian, fairy folk, and classical. So we'll have 3 sections this semester, 1 for each paper and an exam for each section as well. So you'll be writing 3 papers, and those are going to go over either a poem, short story, play. Those are the 3 genres you'll be writing about this semester. So the course objectives, things like that, I'm expecting you to do on your own. My expectations on the reading, like I said, there's no assigned textbook, which is why we're really looking at this hybrid format and your platform. So Blackboard is where most of this is going to go through. All of your reading material and content will be available through Blackboard in some function. So let's just open Blackboard, see what that looks like. All right, so Blackboard, we're going to start at the announcements page. I love announcements, and I'll be posting them regularly. Whenever there's an update to the class, our meetings, things like that, you will get an announcement. In fact, one of the first ones I'll do is I'll put the announcement of a plan of action for our first week. So you'll know exactly what we can do, or what we'll be doing the first week of class. Instructor info. This I hit on in the online video about booking because it includes the link. It also is a reminder of my office hours. And my email, because again, that's the best way to get in touch with me. So there's some main links already here on Blackboard. Syllabus is one of our core areas in terms of communication. So announcements is going to have copies of plan of actions and other specific updates, communications. Again, those will be occurring weekly minimum, probably twice weekly for each of our meetings. But syllabus is going to be great because this is going to be where you're going to find all the important information. So again, a link to book my office hours. This is going to be linked to our other online forum. I'll get to that in a little bit. If you need to access Zoom, and of course the syllabus. Now the syllabus should answer at this point 99.9% of your questions. I've done my best to outline everything possible that is going to be coming up this semester, including platforms, an overview of your main assignments, and there is a weekly schedule for the syllabus over your reading material, and generalized date ranges for your papers and exams. Now, all of those are subject to change based on our progress and, of course, any circumstances that might arise because of the pandemic. So just keep that in mind, but as of right now, there is an established plan for the whole semester. Then there's going to be plan of actions. You'll see those abbreviated as POAs on the announcements and on your syllabus. And essentially, I'm going to be posting those a week ahead. So for week 2, I'll be posting those at the beginning of week 1. For week 1, I'm now posting this ahead before we even start class a week ahead on Monday or Tuesday. So if you want to know what we're doing, just click on this. It's going to be a Word doc that covers that, and I have that open here. So as you can see right now, this is the plan of action. So for the week of class of August 24th to 28th, these are my expectations of what you should do. So I want you to review the syllabus. There is a syllabus assignment that you have to do, and I'm going to be getting to that in here in just a moment with our other platform. It's due at the end of the week on Friday, so those due dates will always be included here. Then there's your reading, and again, any other tasks I need you to complete within that week. And sometimes it'll be a reminder of something that's ongoing, like papers, or something you need extra time, like, hey, maybe go ahead and start reading this for a week ahead because it's longer, like our Play Pygmalion. And then this is something else I'm including because I know this is a big concern for students is, how do I organize my time for an online class, especially if we're not meeting every day and I don't have to turn things in every day, because again, your windows for turning things in will be much more open-ended, instead of like, oh, it's due in class when we meet, it's due online. So a lot of times I'm going to be giving you to the end of the week to do them, but you're going to know about them for like 2 weeks based on the action plan being a week ahead. So you'll have a big window to complete them and submit them within that 2 weeks online. So how do I decide when to do it? And I appreciate you all so much being honest on your surveys, because over half of you admitted that you felt online classes were that black hole of time suck. And I put that option because that is how I felt in online classes. I knew general dates, but I would miss assignments because I would forget, because I didn't log in regularly, or because it seemed so far away. It's like, oh, I've got forever. But then I've got all these smaller assignments and I procrastinated. I was a horrible procrastinator in undergrad. So this is a daily suggested outline. Suggested is the key word. I do not know everybody's individual personal schedules, but what I'm trying to do is show you how to portion out these assignments. And I'm gonna be doing my best never to put anything on a weekend. Monday through Friday is gonna be my daily suggested outlines. I have no expectation that you work on the weekends, but obviously some of you might have jobs or more classes on Tuesdays or Thursdays. It's easier for you to work on the weekend, in which case, again, this is just a suggested outline. My expectation comes more for the amount of time you're spending. The general rule for college is that for every 3 hours you have for a course that you're in class is 3 hours that you're doing work outside of class as the minimum. Obviously, since really I'm only going to be seeing you like an hour, hour 15 because of our changes in the hybrid format, you know, part of that's still going to go to Zoom, and then there's the actual work. I'm still expecting to fall into that approximately 3 hours. So that's why I break it up the way I do. Some of you are really great, and you might get your syllabus assignment done an extra 3 days before this, in which case maybe you don't do anything on Wednesday. That's fine. I know some of you might be concerned. It's like, oh God, she has something for every day. Some of these things are really small. And the other thing is, like, you kind of should be doing a little bit every day. I don't want you to spend 3 hours in one sitting working on my class and burning yourself out in your homework. Do a little bit every day for all of your classes, and it's a lot easier to remember things. It's a lot easier to stay organized and not forget what's going on in every class. So that's why I do have something for every day, but some of it's very small. Like check Google Docs for invite email, make sure it works. That takes 2 minutes. Complete your syllabus assignment. That should really only take 5 to 10 minutes, which is why, again, I separate them out. So all of your plan of actions will have these outlines. Again, suggested outlines. Do not feel like I'm telling you something is due every day. The only things that are due on dates are the ones that are actually given specific dates that says do this. Again, this is just recommended of if you do these little things every day, you won't fall behind. You might even stay ahead of things early. For instance, review the list of options for your first paper. I'm going to be talking about that prompt during our first weekend class. So that's why I'm saying as a reminder before the weekend, after we've had our first meetings, check that out so that you're not writing your thesis after having to read through an entire list of things in 20 minutes. So again, this is me trying to help you with the time suck. All right, so again, you'll be having those every week, a week ahead of the actual week. So you'll get week 2s at the beginning of week 1. So you always have advance notice of your assignments. You should always have plenty of time to do them. All right, so let's go back to Blackboard. That's not Blackboard. Yes, it is. That's a syllabus. But we can still hit on this. So online submissions. So again, turning things in. So on Blackboard, you'll be doing that primarily through this section, online assignments. So I've already got one. It's not, you won't be able to see this, but you can see it on mine because I've created it. It's a journal. So it has a prompt. It tells you how long it'll be. And in your plan of action, I'll give you a due date for when I assign this one. Now, assignments will not stay open forever under the online assignments category. You're generally going to have a 2-week window based on when I tell you that it's in your plan of action and the end of the week of when it's we talk about it or go over that text. So you can always do them early if you want, and I'll generally keep them open a few days after they're due, but then they're going to close. The reason being, I do not want you to fall behind because you think you can put off journals and assignments until the last month of class or when you're less busy, and end up trying to do a month of work in 2 days. So you are going to need to complete your online assignments as we go, all right? They will close, but you will always have plenty of time. I'm never, ever going to assign you something that is due in 1 or 2 days. You will always have ample notification. And if I do assign you something like that, feel free to turn it in late. All right, so that's gonna be where you're submitting things. Access to materials so that you can be up to date. So all of our class readings are going to be under this category, and I need to add some better descriptions of these. I relied a little bit heavier on our in-class format, but I know I won't be seeing you all every day, so for those of you that might miss Zooms and stuff, I'm going to add some more descriptions of these later so you know which ones I'm talking about. They should be in order of when we actually read them in the class, so if you ever aren't sure, it's like just find what we read last and read the thing that's next. That should be fine. Then there's YouTube videos. So I'm going to be updating these as well. In fact, I've already got the one available for if you want to book office hours. That one's going to be visible. And then this one should be, obviously, because you're watching it. Then there's some basic help like terminology and essay writing help if you need it. So these are going to be terms that we're using in class that you want to familiarize yourself with. We're going to do some practice on doing that in class, and also some links to help things that will help writing your papers. In fact, a department website, it's a student WKU run website that has examples of student papers using literary analysis, different types of literary analysis. So those are resources that are always available to you under this section of Blackboard as well. I'll get to the paper stuff a little later because that's under the assignments I want to talk about that are going on. So let's talk about your other platform we're going to be using, aside from the online booking in Zoom, which I think most of you are a little bit familiar with, or you're going to get more familiar with by watching the video I've included. So I'm going to skip over that a little bit here. I want to talk about Google Docs because I know some of you aren't super excited about Google Docs. That was one of the platforms that some of you were less excited about or less comfortable using. And I know some of that stems from issues with group work probably. But I do want to use Google Docs. We've been using them my last couple semesters already for my face-to-face classes, just to create easier access from the whole class to shared materials. And I really like them, and I think they're going to be even more beneficial this semester because I'm going to adapt some things to them so that people can see different feedback, because feedback you give to one person can be helpful to another person. And so I think that could be really, really good engagement through the hybrid format. So under syllabus, there is a direct link. I'm going to be sending invitations using your student emails to all of you to your class Google Doc. But if you need to access it, if you lose track of your email, there's going to be a direct link to each class to your course's Google Doc. So if I click on this link, I already have access to it. So it's just going to open up, and there we go. This is our class forum. So this is just a little description of why we're doing it, what it's there for. I'm also going to keep paper dates up to date and consolidated here at the top of your forum. As you can see, I've already put the approximate dates for your first paper if you want to mark those down. Notice the week of. So part of this is because we're meeting on different days. And I say this now, but we're going to see how it goes for the first paper. I'm going to create a rolling due date for your papers. Essentially, you can have an entire week to turn in your first paper. If some of you want to turn in early, go right ahead. If some of you want to wait until that Friday, okay, because again, you're going to be submitting things online. I won't be getting hard copies anymore. So a hard and fast date that matches the class date we meet. Again, I'm only meeting half of you every day. It's not really fair for Tuesdays to have an earlier due date than Thursdays. So you have an entire week to turn in papers. We're going to see how that goes. If it creates issues with everyone turning them in at the very last minute and delaying our progress in class, or people taking advantage of that and turning them even later than that week, again, we'll see how it goes, but that is why I have week of right now that matches the dates we meet. But again, you'll have that entire week to turn it in, is my goal right now. I reserve the right to revoke anything. So again, this is also just another place where you can find quick access to dates, information if you need it. And essentially the biggest thing we'll be doing is compiling backgrounds. So one of the things we're going to focus on in this class is how research helps contextualize our readings. And so we'll need to do that research. And because it needs to be available to every student, even though each of you will be doing one background element at a time, you can contribute to the Google Doc. Everyone can read it at all times when they're working on their journals, papers, things like that, when we're discussing in class. That way everyone can see it, have access to it. I'll talk a little bit more about how those are going to be assigned in the assignments portion of this video. But I do want to talk about literary terms. This is your syllabus assignment. I'll talk a little bit more about why this is going to be relevant in the assignment section, but let me tell you right now, as we're talking about the Google Doc, because this is your first syllabus assignment, worth 5 points to prove that you watched the videos or read the syllabus, is a 5 to 10 minute thing where essentially you are going to pick a term for the semester. But the first part is just to give me an example. So by the end of our first week of class, here's what I want you to do. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Ooh, there's a lot of terms. There are 34 terms. and 27 students. So there's plenty of room to pick and choose. Some of them won't get chosen, that's okay. But it's like, ooh, what sounds interesting to me? Now, if I don't know what some of these are, I need some terminology information. There's a place for that on Blackboard that we hit on. Terminology and essay writing help. And in fact, there is a version here with definitions if you want to check those out so you know exactly what you're signing up for. But once you pick, you actually have to give me an example. It's not enough just to put your name down to the term you want. So narrator, that's the one I want to pick. I'm going to put my name and claim it by putting a real life example from any media that is fictional. So this could be a movie, book, TV show, poem, song, video game, basically anything. If it's storytelling and fictionalized, you can use it. So a narrator. Now there's lots of different types of narrators. And so, let's see, one of my favorite narrators is actually the Royal Tenenbaums, which is a Wes Anderson film, a little older one. I'm a little older. I think I just misspelled that. Yeah, that's cool. Royal Tenenbaums has an omniscient and unidentified narrator who follows and explains each member of the Tenenbaum family, guiding viewers through flashbacks and present day debacles. Yeah, Jane the Virgin is another TV show that does something like that. But spoiler, we do find out in the final episode who the narrator is, and it's a big deal. So you have claimed a literary term once you've put that example in. So again, making sure you identify what your source material is. So the Royal Tenenbaums, maybe I should put a movie, that would help, as well. Now I've claimed it, and that's gonna matter for the assignments portion. We're gonna talk about it a little bit, but right now I've earned 5 points, and I've proved to Dr. Stinson that I went over the syllabus material, and I'm gonna follow up with her with questions and whatnot on our first meeting day. Yay, done. Okay, see, that took 3 minutes. All right, and I'm gonna delete this because someone actually might wanna keep narrator. All right, but don't use that example. Come on. All right, so Google Docs looks scary. Really the only scary part is getting access. And once I send you invites, it should be relatively easy. I promise Google Docs is not evil. Main way to do that is really going to be, by the easiest way to do it is going to be to turn your school email into a Google account. Now, some of you may have already done that in the past, and that's great. That makes it really easy. If you haven't, let's look at how that goes. So I'm going to go to account.google.com. Now I'm signed in, which is why it's showing you all this. So what I want to do is sign out. Okay, continue. Okay, so if it takes you something like this, if you have other accounts, let's try use another account, right? Then we're going to go to create an account for myself. And essentially what you're trying to do is get to this screen. Now, if you don't have a Google account, you never sign into Google accounts, you use Firefox or Safari that doesn't automatically connect to Chrome as a browser. When you do accounts.google.com, this may actually be the first page that comes up, in which case, great, you skip 2 steps. So I'm going to put in my name, last name, and then username. Notice it says Gmail. You're going to have problems if you try to put in your Western email at gmail.com. So make sure you hit use my current email address instead. And now you can type in your actual Western email. So this is going to tell me I already have an account. So sorry about that. And you're going to connect the password, and then you're going to hit next. Now, I can't go through this because I already have this set up as an account, but it's just going to ask you a few things, a couple details, maybe a recovery phone number for your account. Just accept, keep going. It really should only take 5 minutes. Most of the time, if students get hung up on it, it's because they didn't use my current email and they kept trying to type it in with the @gmail.com, and that's not going to work. But most students usually accomplish this in a couple minutes, and that will make it easy. You can even share it to your personal Gmail if you want to make sure that you have access through your Western email and your personal account. I don't care. My only thing is that when you're in the Google Doc, if that is the case, I'm really looking for you to put your names next to stuff as you write in. That way, in case your Gmail account usernames are hard for me to tell. In fact, I already had that problem with some of your surveys. I didn't recognize the names on the emails that you put in, and so I had to do best guess on what those letters looked like, and based on my rosters. So that's going to be the only possible issue. But I think that'll be really easy to get around with how I expect you to record your contributions to the Google Docs, like how you just put in the brackets next to your name like I did for the literary terms. So again, this is what you're looking for. Those are the steps. Just click next, confirm, accept, input your details, keep going. And then you have access to Google Doc without a problems. And this is the only one I require. And again, we'll be using it all semester, just the one. So it's not like I'm going to ask you to do a bunch of different Google Docs. So hopefully that will keep you feeling a little less overwhelmed by the Google Doc. But one of the things I really want to do and use it for, and I'm actually going to show you a previous semester's, because I think that will be more helpful. And what I'm wanting to get out of the Google Docs. You'll understand why it's relevant. Something we ended up having to do because of the hybrid form, or because of the online format, I want to carry over to hybrid because I think that's really good, is seeing other people's thesis statements. So I'm going to scroll through here. Yeah, third paper thesis statements. And there's always going to be a guide here. I use headings so that you can easily skip around. You don't have to scroll through the whole thing. You can see essentially everyone put in their thesis statements. And this works, you can see what other people are writing, since some of you might be picking the same text for your papers. But by doing it in the Google Docs, here's what I get to do. I get to add comments directly to your thesis statements, and other students can see that. And so you can essentially see all the feedback I'm giving to your thesis statements that will be helpful to all of you moving forward thesis to thesis. And also, I know you can get the comment, you can resolve the comment and edit. And so I can see continued iterations of your thesis until it gets to a state that's really good. So just keep that in mind. This is one of the things that's going to be really helpful about using Google Docs. You can see how your thesis compares. Like these two students read the same short story. How do their thesis statements compare? So you can see what other students are doing for the same texts, and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to using Google Docs. I know you're scared. I know that was one of 3 platforms you were a little more hesitant about using, and I'll walk through a little bit more of this in class if anyone has any questions. So let's go back to our syllabus real quick. I'm just going to hit on this very briefly. Slack. If for any reason, and by any reason I mean the pandemic gets worse, we go back to fully online, Slack is another platform we'll be using. But again, that's only if we go back to entirely online before the expected date in November. If that comes up, it comes up. I'll go over that in more detail in its own video. Until then, don't worry about it. this is something else. So this is going to be some of the big changes we're looking at with the hybrid format is how do we interact with each other? How do we get the benefit of peer learning when you have to stay 6 feet away from your peers? I used to do groups for this class. And so you would have these little seminar discussions. So we would do a lecture and then you'd break off into groups and discuss, maybe work on a writing assignment together. But obviously can't do that because I can't have 6 of you huddled up together anymore. So instead of groups, I want a buddy system. Now, if you want to work alone, you're solo, you're the lone wolf, that's okay. I'm never going to make you turn in anything that is a group project except one thing this semester with your exams. It's going to be the only thing that I'm really going to make you work with other people. But the buddy system is an option, and or trio system, because we have an odd number of people in the class, that I'm going to let you implement of your own volition. Because I do think you can turn in your desks, not like turn your desks, but like you can turn and someone's 6 feet away, you can have a person-to-person conversation. I don't think that would be a real trouble hearing each other communicating. That you can actually work together on exercises. And in fact, what I'm going to do is let you turn in most of your assignments like that, journals, writing exercises. You can turn them in with your partner or trio instead of individually. So that is an option that's going to be available with that. No more than 3. Trio is the max, no quartets up in this joint. So that's my limit. And again, trio is only because we have an odd number of people in the class. So, okay. And that's also going to be into our workshop policy. That is something you will be doing through Buddy. That's not really a contribution assignment. That's more an exchange assignment that we'll still need. And I will be doing a few experiments in class with how to make those work to see what's most effective with our new social distancing policy. Attendance, late work, makeup work. Again, I've sort of hit on some of these things. If you have questions over them after you read through them, anything you want me to cover in class, I will. Contacting me, I think that's pretty much covered by email. And I do a little bit more in the online booking video. University policies, these you're going to be getting in all of your syllabus, so I'm not going to hit on these with much right now. Academic integrity, don't double dip. That's my only thing, is no self-plagiarism in this class. You have to create all new original work for your papers. That's the big thing. Complaints are rated AD accommodation. This one isn't really important. So just as a reminder, students have to self-disclose. So let me know if there's any accommodations you need. Get me the faculty notification letter. We'll sort it out. Hit me up, email, online booking, grab a meeting. We'll talk it out. All right. Title IX, contacting, again, making sure you're in a safe learning environment. All that information is there for you to find. Writing Center, Learning Center, details on how to find those. Important dates. I think most of you are probably familiar with the schedule at this point. Meeting for Labor Day. We don't get that day off anymore. Not meeting for Election Day. No fall break. Just a whole week off for Thanksgiving. So grading. All right, so we are now in the assignments section. What are your big assignments? How are your grades going to be measured out? This is what this main section is about. So you're gonna have 3 essays worth 20% of your grade each. So that is 60% of your course grade. That's over half of your grade in this class is determined by your papers, which makes sense given that the bulk of the writing analysis is going to be present in those assignments. Then you're gonna have 3 exams. Those are each worth 10%, therefore a total of 30% of your grade. That's a 90% of your grade. It's independent work already. So again, if you do want to work in your buddy trio systems, really all that's going to amount to is some participation grade. In case I know some of you are like, oh, I don't want my grade to be bad if I pick the wrong buddy. It's like, I mean, if your buddy isn't working out, you know, do it independently. No one's making you turn in. You can talk and work things out with your buddy and still do independent writing exercise. Maybe you just talk out some ideas. Really, I just want to make sure you have someone to converse with. It's not just me. And especially for those of you who aren't as comfortable contributing to the big class discussion, you have someone you feel like you can talk to about the stuff we're reading in class, and maybe exchange some ideas. It's all about the exchange of ideas in English. Yeah. So the last participation, 10%, is the catch-all for everything else. So that's going to be your journals, that's going to be your syllabus assignment, that's going to be your thesis statements, workshop points, all that jazz goes into that category. So that's 100% how your grade's broken up. And of course, the grading scale, what makes an A, B, C. So let's talk about these things that make up such a huge part of your grade, which is your papers. So these are explication papers. An explication paper is just a fancy way of saying it's an analysis. This is not a summary. This breaks down why, how something is written, right? If I need to know what a story is about, I can read it myself. Your papers are going to be talking about the construction, which is why your terminology is going to be important. So you can identify those constructs in these texts. And then the introspective, subjective analysis of, well, what does it mean? Why is it written that way? If how is metaphors and allusions and third-person point of views, then why did they make that choice? Here is the choice. Why was it made? That's what your papers are about. And yes, this is subjective as all get out. It's about the construction of your evidence. Do I have clear logic between the construction in the text I'm giving and the reasoning for what I think it means? Do those things align? Am I providing support through an outside source? That is something that's required in each of your papers, is one, count it, one, outside source. Not 3, not 4, not 5, 1, just one. This might orient to our background stuff that we're doing. Author bio, historical context, genre, the original mythos. Again, these are all retellings. How are they different from the original story? Why is it different? Why did they make that choice? So again, those are things you might be analyzing. You might even compare a academic analysis of this text that someone else did, and like, well, they're wrong. Or, yeah, they're totally right. And here, let me add more to that in my version. Here's what they missed. So you can compare academic analysis to yours. I wouldn't mind that as an outside source, but I think most of them are going to fall under those 4 categories we're talking about. So one of the things I really need from you is when you turn in your papers is to turn them in as Word docs. That makes it easier for me to do your live grade or your visible grading meetings, which we can take like 2 seconds. MLA citation style, that's the formatting we're using. You need a works cited for every paper, at the very least, because there are different editions, versions, printings, editions of these texts. So which one are you using? How do I know that's the right page number? How do I know that's the right translation? You've got to cite which edition, which text you're using. So at the very least, your works cited page is going to have 2 things on it: the text you're analyzing and your outside source. Now, maybe you have a third that's another outside source. Maybe you have another text or another translation to compare. I don't know. But those are the 2 things that have to be on your works cited page, and every paper has to have a works cited page. You're going to lose an entire letter grade just by not having a works cited page. Yeah, cool. I expect everyone to have a working knowledge of MLA citation. If you don't, I have a link here, hyperlink, that will take you to Purdue OWL's MLA formatting guide. So you know exactly what that looks like. You can get examples on how to cite these things. But if you really aren't sure and you're having trouble understanding the guide, just come see me. Book that office hour. We'll talk about MLA format. I'll answer your questions. We'll get you settled. All right. But the main thing you're going to be booking office hour meetings for are the visible grading. So to get your papers back with a grade in this class, you have to see me. I know that sounds really terrifying, right? Like super terrifying. You have to just sit for 15 minutes and talk about your paper. What was good? What was bad? What were you thinking when you were writing that? Because it was awesome. Or we need to think that through. So I want to know, because why you're writing the way you're writing is just as important as what you've ended up writing. I'm more interested in perfecting your writing process, not just the end result, which is why we do these meetings. So this is part of your assignment. When you submit a paper, you have to book a meeting with me for your first 2 papers to get the grade back. And essentially I will create track changes, all that stuff, and I'll cover this a little bit more and I hit on it in the online booking meeting, since that's what the main purpose of this is for. So, but this is something you have to do at least twice this semester. All right, now let's talk about semester long assignments. Not as a semester long, but are things that will be occurring throughout the semester. So first, the literary term that was part of your syllabus assignment. Reminder, syllabus assignment, go back, go to Google Docs. Details are there and in the syllabus. Twice this semester, you're gonna take that literary term and you're gonna examine the use of it in one of the texts we read in class. So I picked narrator. So I put it off till, we do Anne Sexton's The Jesus Papers. And she uses third person and first person in that collection. Why is she using 2 different narrators? Do the narrators change when she's using I in this poem and I in this poem? Why does it change? What's going on there? Can we clearly identify who the narrator is? It's confessional poetry. Is she always the narrator, even though she's using other characters? I know these are a lot of questions. Keep them in mind for when we get to Anne Sexton and Jesus Papers. But in 250 to 300 words, which is approximately 1 page, double-spaced, I want you to write up about that term within this text. And again, you get to pick whichever text you want this semester. You just have to pick at least 2 and turn it in while we're discussing that text. A few days after we finish, okay. But I don't want you turning in a version of your literary term for something we read during our Judeo-Christian mythos section while we're in the fairy tale folklore section. We've moved on, we're in a different section. So we have 3 sections. You could do your literary term in both of them in 1 section. That's fine. You want to get them done? Don't want to worry about them? Cool. Do them both. All right. As long as you do 2. 2 is the minimum, right? And you have all semester to do your 2. But let's say you are one of those overachievers. I know you're out there. I love you, just like you. I'm going to give you some options if you do more than 2 of these this semester. If you do a 3rd one of 2 things. I could replace a lower scoring one. So let's say you didn't get as high a score on your first literary term as you did your second one. Maybe you want to do a 3rd one so that your 2 are both really high scoring. That's cool. I'll replace a lower scoring one. No problem. I mean, it means your 3rd one has to be a higher scoring one. But hopefully the general progression is always going to be that your points and scores go up with practice and expertise. That's one option. Just replace a bad score on the first one. Second option, you can add points to something else. So if you do a 3rd literary term assignment and it's really good, I'm not going to grade it on a point system because, again, you're not trying to earn points with it. I'll grade it on a letter system. So if this is an A explication of the literary term used in this text, I'll let you add 2 points to a paper or exam of your choice. If it's a B, all right, it's still not work. A few things are a little unclear, but largely the thought behind this is nice. There's a clear delineation between the evidence and the conclusion. All right, it's a B. I'll let you add 1 point to an exam or paper of your choice. And I know 1 point doesn't sound like a lot, but 1 point can take you from a 79 to an 80 or an 89 to a 90. And that's a letter grade. So now if you give me a 3rd literary term and it's a C or below, I'm not going to give you points for that. Like, that's not good enough. for earning bonus. You know, B is going beyond expectations. A is above and beyond expectations. If you're just meeting expectations, I'm not gonna earn any bonus for that. So it's gotta be really good, but that is an option. Now you can only take the letter, the point letter option once. So if you decide to do 4 literary terms, in which case you were wildly overachieving, and that's fantastic, we'll replace one of the lower ones and you can then add points to thing. But you can only do 1 or both. You can't do 2 of each, if that makes sense. So, all right. And then background contribution. So you saw in the Google Doc, that was the main thing, is that we're collecting background on each of our texts. So at least once this semester, you are gonna be responsible for a background component of our reading. So the first week of class, I'm gonna take volunteers for our first one in our Google Doc. So I'm gonna go back to our other one. Oh, sign in. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. So I'm going to take volunteers, and essentially where those names are, I'm just going to put in the volunteer names. I'm going to take 2 or 3 on Tuesday and then 2 or 3 on Thursday. It depends on how many volunteers, but I'm going to split it up. And then essentially once you see how that works, I'll open up the rest of the semester's background and you can go ahead and just choose your own. And so if there are extras, we'll talk about those later. There'll be a few extras. Some of them might just fill in because that's easier. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities for everyone to get in. And one of the reasons there's going to be extras is, like, I imagine someone might forget one day. In which case, all right, well, that's 40 points. You don't want to lose that opportunity. All right, make it up on this one. You might not do a very good job on your first one, and you get a really low score. Like, if there's like 2 sentences there, do not feel bad about giving you a 5 out of 40. Like, you have to earn your 40 points on your background assignment. So maybe you want an opportunity to make that up. That's, again, we have some extras. We're going to make use of them, but I want to try and fill them in as fast as we can, as full as we can that way, you know, if we have anything down the road. And I am in class going to go over what that should look like. We're going to talk about examples with our first reading of Jerusalem's William Blake, what the level of background should look like, what kind of things you're looking for the background and research, what kind of comparisons in the mythos, the genre, whatnot. So we're going to cover that in class before any of you have to do it independently. But again, you have to do it at least once this semester for 40 points. So some of you may want to do it early. Some of you may want to put it off into the end of the semester. Again, that's up to you. Just remember that the rest of the class is depending on the depth and accuracy of the background you provide for our discussion and maybe their own writing exercises. So, then I think that's all on the assignments. So tentative schedule. Again, all of this is subject to change based on circumstances beyond my or anyone else's control. But as of right now, this should let you know what you should be reading. I would go ahead and start Tower of Babylon just in case we can get to it on Thursday of our first week. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get to it until week 2. We'll be testing out the hybrid situation the first week. So I both want to be over prepared with expectations of not being as effective as I want in the first week. So, but again, everything we read this semester is on this list with a general, should stay pretty close to when you should have it read. So which week we're doing what. And again, check announcements, check plans of action under syllabus for any potential changes. So, all right. Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking. I don't know that I have a lot left at this point. Let's double check. Tools, access, paper prompt. there we go. So papers, as we're talking about those, I should came back here. So under paper prompt and readings, the prompt is here. It's already available. You can look at it, read through it. We'll talk about it in the first week of class. And the selections you need to look over for the first paper, those are available. I have PDFs or links to PDFs, a few online versions. So you can choose which text you want. Again, I'll go over that more in depth. Paper submissions, so those links are already open. These are going to be some of the only links that don't close on your submissions. There will be hard dates for your papers and exams, but those will never close like your online assignments, like your journals and writing exercises will, just because these are such major papers and assignments that you kind of can't not turn those in. But yeah, I will say there will be a small grace period for your online assignments that around Thanksgiving. If I need to reopen anything, I might do it then. Again, that's in the syllabus. So, and then exams will all be linked here. Obviously, there's none open right now because we haven't made any. In fact, that's going to be something you'll do this semester is make and contribute to your own exams. We'll have to work out how to do that now that we don't have groups, but I think it's still doable. So, oh, this went on way longer than I wanted it to, but turns out I got a lot to talk about. So, again, I hope we got a little overview of the navigation, the Google Docs, again, see the other video for the online booking, and if you have any questions, we're going to hit on that in class on Tuesday and Thursday. Again, see the other video for Zoom so that you can access class on Tuesday if you're not the one attending, and Thursday if you're not the one attending. So between this video and that video and the syllabus actually written out and the plan of action, I think we're good. Email me if you see this video earlier and you need anything. Okay, all right. I'm gonna stop here before I ramble and make this video way too long. All right, thank you. I'm so excited to see you, and we're gonna have a great time. So, okay, stop share, and I'll see you later.